Hello, fine people of YouTube. It's Gaffer here. I'm just going to play some Civilization 5. I purchased this game on Steam about 2 weeks ago, as it was on offer for £8 with all of the DLC to date. So I thought, why the hell not? So yeah, I figured I'd do a little video of me playing. I'm not good at Civilization. I haven't really played them. This is almost my first venture into Civilization. I did have Civilization 3 before previously. I mean, I still do. It's on Steam. Someone bought it for me for Christmas, but I never really got it. I like strategy games. I've played them since I got my first PC, which came with Total Annihilation. Can't even speak. Total Annihilation. If anyone's played that, Total Annihilation's got to be, still to date, one of the best strategy games out there. It's got everything that a solid strategy game needs, and it was just way ahead of its time. I think it came out in '98, published by Cave Dog Studios, which ended up going bust. But it's just a fantastic game. The creator, actually, Chris Taylor, he went on to make Supreme Commander, if anyone's heard of that, which is effectively like a spiritual successor to Total Annihilation. It plays very similar, just with updated modern graphics. So if anyone ever fancies a good strategy game, I would absolutely wholeheartedly recommend playing Total Annihilation, or Supreme Commander 1 would be a good enough replacement for modern day. Supreme Commander 2, I didn't play it purely because I didn't like the look of it. I watched it when it was coming through development, and I didn't like the ideas that they were implementing into it. It just wasn't my kind of strategy game. I like the original concept of Total Annihilation, where it is really a matter of pumping out as many units as possible, and just absolute chaos on the front lines, interspersed with building up some other sort of flanking attack force, or an aerial force or something like that, to break up the basically the frontline carnage that's almost constant in a match. So yeah, anyway, that's me yammering on about me liking strategy games, but I've never been particularly much of an expert. At least this one is turn-based, so there's no sort of micromanagement of units on the front lines. It's pure strategy. You have to outthink your opponents, and yeah, ultimately try to defeat them in a number of ways in Civilization. I don't know all the ways that you can win. Obviously you can just win by conquest, destroying your opponents in combat, but you can win with cultural victories, bringing in the most tourism. So there are peaceful victories which are possible as well in the game. But as I say, I've not played a great deal of Civilization, so I don't know exactly all of the possible outcomes, as I've never even managed to get through one full game. They do go on for a while, especially if you don't know exactly what you're doing and you're just kind of trying to take in all the information each turn. So I'm gonna set up a game here. So I'm going to choose all of the parts of the game. Or, honestly, I'm not actually going to choose them all. Because there's a huge amount of leaders that you can select. The leaders will define a few sort of intrinsic values for your civilization. So, I mean, you can see through here. So, for example, Augustus Caesar of Rome, his general benefit is 25% increased production towards any buildings that already exist in the capital. So when you build a building in your capital, you can then build it in all of your additional settlements 25% quicker. And that doesn't mean that you'll build it 25% quicker than the original building. It just means that that city will build it quicker than normal, because obviously the capital tends to be the quickest builder, as it has the most citizens, as it was established first, that kind of thing. That's not always the case. Your secondary cities can become much more powerful. Totally depends on the locations, that kind of thing. So in addition to your sort of intrinsic civilization values, you'll get a couple of unique units as well. So in the case of Caesar, it's the Ballista and the Legion. So I've not played Caesar before, but I know that a Ballista is a siege weapon that fires javelins, basically. So I don't know if that's going to be sort of an early siege weapon that allows you access to siege weaponry before the other civilizations, or perhaps it's a siege weapon that is more capable against other units, I suppose, because it could be used quite effectively against ground troops as well as fortifications. And the Legion, I'm assuming it's an early swordsman, possibly before other civilizations get swordsmen, or perhaps just a swordsman with better stats than others. Yeah, so all of the leaders have their own bonuses. So the Aztecs get extra culture every time they kill an enemy unit. They get the Jaguar troop. Floating gardens, that's probably a unique wonder to the Aztecs. For this game though, I am just going to go for a random, just because I can't be asked to look through all of the stats. I think I'll go for standard continents. I'll try the difficulty level in normal Prince this time, just because I have played one game, which I'm still playing at the moment actually, in Chieftain, the easiest difficulty, and it's just a little bit too easy. So I figure I'll play in regular difficulty and just see how the AI handles me. I could imagine that I will lose, just because I'm not very experienced at the game yet, but we'll see anyway. And I'll stick with the standard pace. Okay, let's load this up then. So I have been spawned as a big fat man.
Prime Minister of Mayapit and unifier of the Indonesian archipelago. The stories of your heroism on the battlefield are bested only by the legends of your sworn oath to unite the far-flung islands of Indonesia under one banner. Serving your queen and empire with loyalty, you not only strove to fulfill your oath and conquered any who stood in your path, but you succeeded in capturing what was then the entirety of the known archipelago, the first to unite what is today modern Indonesia. Mighty warrior Gajah Mada, your people yearn for a strong leader who can return them to prosperity. Will you set out to conquer the neighboring kingdoms, further expanding the glory of your empire? Will you build a civilization that can stand the test of time?
Okay, Spice Islanders, the first 3 cities founded on continents other than where Indonesia started, each provide 2 unique luxury resources and can never be raised. Okay, so yeah, so Indonesia is an archipelago. I actually went to Bali a few months ago, which is part of Indonesia, although it kind of wants to be its own sort of separate nation state. I don't really know what's going on there. I think it's mainly to do with the fact that Bali is a Hindu nation, whereas the rest of Indonesia is predominantly Muslim. So I think that may be where the sort of split has come in, why Bali wants to be separate, because it has its own strain of string of Hinduism. Balinese Hinduism is its own sort of sub religion of based on Hinduism. Okay, yeah. So as it is an archipelago, the idea is that you would want to build a couple of settlements away from your original city on a separate island in order to gain a bonus of luxury resources, which luxury resources in Civilization basically give you a bonus to happiness.
Found a city. Food and resources are plentiful here. Press your Settlers Found City button.
Okay, so I still have the tips coming up at the moment.
Consider sending your warrior out to...
Okay, there's going to be a lot of tips that I don't need to. So we start off with a settler here. This is a fairly good location to start. So we have stone available, we've got sheep, truffles, a bit of forest, a few forest sections. We've got a big hill here, which gives you a bonus to production. Another hill over here, and we're on the sea, which means obviously we can build boats and we can branch out into the sea to gain the sort of natural resources, fish, pearls, etc, etc. So I'm quite content with plopping the city down here. Okay, we have a warrior, so we're going to use the warrior to explore to start off with. Best thing to do with your units is to approach hills, because you get a slightly increased vision when you're passing over hills, which is quite handy, obviously, when you're just looking. And they do gain a defense bonus, I understand, when they're fighting from a hill. So now we have a city, or a settlement rather. We can choose what to build. Isn't a great deal of choice. But a scout would probably be quite useful. It's one of the things I normally build first. Okay, so culture is a very useful thing to build up. Culture, when your culture points tick over a certain amount, so say for example there's a threshold of 100 and you gain 2 culture per turn, after 50 turns your borders will gain an extra chunk of expansion effectively. You can also expand with just money when you have enough gold saved, so you can see my gold up here. When you've saved enough gold you can buy extra sections of land. But the other useful part of culture is it allows you to adopt social policies which generally just boost the stats of your entire nation. So maybe it'll increase their level of production through efficiency, or perhaps it will improve your relations with other nations or nation states, that you are better at, not necessarily bribing as such, but giving gifts and making friends, that kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of different stuff you can do with culture that makes it slightly more versatile than gold, or maybe not versatile but useful. Gold is hugely versatile. Obviously you can buy units, you can buy land, you can rush production, you can do many things. Okay, so we'll start with the monument for the culture boost, and we need to choose a technology to research. So obviously a huge part of civilization, the game and in real life, is humans effectively bettering themselves. So because the way the game starts, we're in 4000 BC here, so this is basically the roots of a nation. We start off with the very basic things, so you can see here pottery, animal husbandry, archery and mining. What you'll also notice are these little badges. So you can see here, your economic advisor recommends researching this technology, your military advisor recommends researching this technology, and your science advisor recommends researching this technology. So you get a general recommendation from different parts of your government effectively. But you know what these badges are basically saying is, if you want to be a militaristic style leader, then go for this. If you want to be an economic, or if you want to go for an economic victory, you'd want to, you know, go for this. Or if you want to go for a scientific victory or a scientific boost, then you know this is a good shout to go here. Okay, so what should I start off with? The Indonesian people get a specific wonder, or is it some sort of garden replacement later on, whatever they are. Basically it produces more faith and culture, so faith and culture are quite strong. Okay, what does pottery lead on to? Sailing, calendar, writing, masonry, bronze working, mines, useful, granary. Okay, I think I'm going to go for pottery to start off with. Go down the economic route.
Excuse me.
Okay, so we've moved our unit and we have set a production for our first settlement, so we can go on to the next turn now. And at the start of the game that's going to be about, I think it's 40 years. Yeah, so we're now 40 years in the future for one turn. Let's move our troops a little bit further. Okay, so we have found an encampment of barbarians here. Barbarians roam around for the most part of the early game, and they're just kind of around for getting experience for your troops. They're weak, they will fortify themselves, that kind of thing, to give them an advantage in combat, but being that we're from a quote-unquote great nation, and they're just simple barbarians, then we get a bonus to combat against them anyway. Yeah, we can see here. So we do slightly more damage just because of the bonus versus barbarians, but they gain a terrain modifier because they're sitting on a hill at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to head towards these ancient ruins first.
One of your combat
Okay, I'm going to clear off all of these tips. Okay, so I'm going to go for the ruins first because it's free. Oh, you're joking. Okay, cool. I noticed the flash of a different unit there. I didn't realise it was mine being upgraded. So I now have spearmen here. So these have been upgraded basically to the next level for free, which is very handy against these because you can see the victory is slightly stronger now, even with their additional fortification bonus that they've gained from digging in where they are now. Okay, so the production here is still going to take another 8 turns at this rate, unless the production increases, which I'm sure it will do when we get a new citizen, which will basically work the land. If we look at the citizen management, we can see here, so we got a citizen working this slot, which is gaining a lot of food, and the actual city itself, which is gaining 2 food and 1 production. So when we get a new citizen, he'll probably be placed on either this one here or this one here. I tend to let it just go automatically because I'm lazy. Yes. Okay, so whilst that's doing its production thing, we don't need to do anything else with it. We just cycle through the turns. Okay, so annoyingly these are well fortified now. They obviously won't attack because they know my troops are better than their troops. And I don't really want to attack now because of the advantage they've given themselves there. Excuse me.
That may be of use.
Okay, so there's some more ruins over here which I'm going to go for first. Unless these guys attack, which they won't. Oh, hello. Welcome, I am Wu Zetian, Empress of China. We do not look for conflict with others, but we will respond forcefully to protect our interests. Okay, so this is just a first greeting with another nation. So it basically means their troops have come in contact with my troops. So we don't really need to say anything yet. We've just basically greeted each other. I'm not gonna declare war. It's a little bit preemptive. I don't think we have anything to trade yet. No point in demanding or really discussing anything because we haven't established a relationship with this nation yet. So we'll just say bye for the time being. Oh right, okay, they're over here. That's a little bit worrying. Okay. Well, all I can really say is hopefully they don't run into my base. I'm not too clued up on combat with cities yet. I'm assuming that the city by itself can defend itself because of the combat strength here. That combat strength is actually less than a spearman though, isn't it? Because my spearmen are 11. Okay, right, well this game could be over very early, but we'll see. I'm still gonna go for the ruins. $50 gold, okay, that's semi-pointless. Although I can expand my territory with that. Okay, well, there's nothing else I can do here. Let's next turn it. Haile Selassie? Is that how it's pronounced? Of Ethiopia. Welcome, friend, to my lands of peace and prosperity. I am the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings. But you may call me Haile Selassie, or whatever my name is. That was a terrible accent. I don't even know what accent that was. However, we are going to say goodbye to this man, because I have nothing further to say. Hopefully he's not going to roll into my base either. Ah, more barbarians. Jakarta has grown. Okay, so Jakarta has gained another citizen. So if I pop back to the citizen management, you can see a citizen is now working this square here. So I'm gaining an extra 1 food and 2 production. So everything should start building a little bit quicker. And with the food surplus that I have here, I'll have a new citizen in 12 turns at this rate. Okay. Right. Actually, how much? 50. Okay. So this one here, I think this is wine. This square here will be useful to me. Oh, we have wine over here as well. Okay, well I'm going to buy this one. I don't necessarily need it right now, but what the hell? I'm going to buy it anyway. Yeah, wine is one of the luxury resources you can get in the game. I think I said earlier, yeah, that luxury resources basically increase the happiness of your populace, so that's useful. Basically, it means you can have more citizens in a city and them still be content with the situation, and you can work them harder, etc. There's a handful of other sort of implications it has to keep your citizens happy. Oh, okay. Oh, they're Ethiopian. Well, that's pretty annoying that the Ethiopian symbol is almost identical to the barbarian symbol. I see. Okay, I assumed that these were barbarians. Fair enough.
City-states are small countries that are not competing to win the game. Excuse me.
Okay, yeah, so as you heard there, this is a city-state. This one's called IFE, or IFE. Basically, these are very similar to other nations, like mine, but they are effectively non-aggressive. They don't branch out anywhere near as quick, but you get benefits for being friends or allies with them. So you can complete quests, for example, for them. Commonly it's sort of clearing away barbarians in the area, or establishing a trade route directly with their city, or adding a certain luxury resource to your own stockpile, that sort of thing. And when you become friends with them, you get a handful of bonuses, maybe a gold tribute, or additional luxury resources as well. So generally it's quite useful to be friends with them.
I have some information that may be of use.
Okay, so I didn't go for any faith in my last game. I went purely for culture. I think that was mainly just due to my own lack of belief, I guess. I'm not a religious person, but I won't let that govern the way I play the game. I think I may go for some sort of religious structures in this, as the Indonesian people seem to gain a benefit from that. So I'll definitely go down the route of building religious structures in this game. Okay, so I tend to just like exploring as far as possible with my troops. It's possibly a terrible idea, I can't tell. I mean, I assume that no one else has any troops by this point, so if a city can defend itself against troops, then, you know, I don't see the issue of letting your troops go for a good old wander. Oasis. Oh, cool. However, I might bring them back from there. Okay, a bit of an awkward choice really, because clearly there must be another civilization somewhere in this area, seeing as the Chinese came over and popped into view over here. So I'm in two minds about whether I want to double back through the already explored area and maybe bring around here, or whether I should just continue exploring here. I'll tell you what, I think I'll just build a scout next and get him scouting the area. I think that might be a good idea. Yeah.
Our capital city has finished building a unit.
Okay, so we've finished our first construction in our first settlement of Jakarta. So with the invention of pottery, I can now create a granary and a shrine. And with the monument just finished, that will bring in a source of culture. Okay. Yeah, so I'm thinking the scout should be a good shout now. 5 turns to make him. Scouts are terrible fighters, but they are unhindered by terrain, meaning that they can move 2 spots every turn, regardless of whether they're going through forest, over hills, over rivers, that kind of thing. So that would be useful for exploring all the area around here. Okay, and we finished pottery, so we want to look at researching something new now. So what you may or may not have noticed is these technologies were going to take 10 turns previously, but with the increase in science production in my settlement, these are now only going to take 8 turns, and the new technologies that I've thought about here have appeared, which take a lot more. So animal husbandry is apparently useful for the economic thing. Sorry, I'm just deciding. Additional trade rate, caravan. Okay, so I think I'll go for animal husbandry. That means I'll be able to construct pastures for cattle, which will increase food, I believe. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to check out animal husbandry, and let's move my spearmen. So Ethiopia's already founded a pantheon. It's quite impressive. I'm assuming that they, probably from one of the ancient ruins, they probably got a huge bonus to faith, because there's no way they could have produced enough faith naturally. Oh, is this Ethiopia here? Yeah. Okay. So we found Ethiopia here. And we're just gonna blast through a handful of turns here. So I'm just gonna continue moving my troops, and should... oh, okay, I'm gonna get the scout next turn.
Sou Maria, Rainha de Portugal. Já nos conhecemos?
You stand before the Queen of Portugal, and she finds herself wondering, why are you here? You're here. I'm not there. Goodbye. Okay, so I've got some Portuguese troops by me now. Standard warriors. And I now have my scouts available. So let's pop these guys over here. And... oh, okay. That's annoying. Okay, so it looks like Ethiopia just extended their border over to this gold, and because I can only move one space, I can't sit within their borders at the end of the turn, so I'm going to have to move back now. And Jakarta just finished the scout, so we can choose something else now. Okay, so if I build a granary, that will cost 1 gold per turn once it's finished, but it will produce 2 + 2 food. Game seems to be suggesting that I should go for the worker, just because once I have a worker I can start creating, for example, a pasture here, and here I guess as well, and I'll eventually be able to start building mines on the hills and the stone here. Okay. So, yeah, I feel like the worker probably is the best idea here. Oh, okay, so I can adopt a policy now. So, this is what culture does. It allows you to adopt one of these social policies. So, tradition. Tradition is best for small empires. Adopting tradition greatly increases the rate of border expansion in cities and also grants +3 to culture in the capital city. Unlocks building the Hanging Gardens. Adopting all policies in the tradition tree will grant 15% bonus to food growth and a free aqueduct in your first 4 cities. It also allows the purchase of great engineers with faith, starting in the industrial era. Okay. Liberty. Liberty is best for civilizations which desire rapid expansion. Adopting liberty will provide 1 culture in every city, unlocks building the pyramids. Adopting all policies in the liberty tree will grant a free great person of your choice near the capital. So great persons allow you to... they're like a one-shot unit. That makes... It depends on what great person it is, but for example, a great scientist can research a new piece of technology instantly, or a great writer can create a piece of great writing, like a famous poem or something like that, which will bring tourism to your nation, which is one of the ways to win the game. Or a great artist can bring culture to your cities, or alternatively it can create a golden age, and the golden age increases the production for all of your cities for several turns, about 10 to 15 turns, giving you a huge bonus for that period of time. Okay, Honor improves the effectiveness of one's army in a variety of ways. Adopting Honor gives a plus 33% combat bonus versus barbarians, and notifications will be provided when new barbarian encampments spawn in revealed territory. Gain culture for the Empire from each barbarian killed. Unlocks building the statue of Zeus. Adopting all policies within the Honor tree will grant gold for each enemy unit killed. It also allows purchase of great generals with your faith, starting in the Industrial Era. Piety. So piety increases the faith of empires, or piety, however you feel to pronounce it. Adopting piety allows you to build shrines and temples in half the usual time. Unlocks building the Great Mosque of Jen. Adopting all policies within the piety tree causes a great prophet to appear and holy sites to provide +3 culture. That's quite cool. Okay, so that's all I can have. Patronage is a classical era. Tradition seems useful. Okay. I think I'll go for tradition for the time being. Great engineers. Great person of your choice, that's quite useful. Okay, choices, choices, choices. I think I'll just go for tradition, question mark. Okay, right, I'm going for tradition. YOLO. Right, okay, so finally made a decision there. Let's go to the next turn.
I have some information that may be of use.
Okay, so Jakarta has grown to 3 citizens now. And there's still some additional food, so we will still get a new citizen eventually. And there will be border growth next. Okay. Great. So we have animal husbandry now. So once I have my worker out on the map, I'll be able to create pastures, increase my food production, and that will increase the amount of citizens I'll eventually have in the city, overall increasing the potential of the city. Also, the culture growth has spread us over to this other section of wine. So everyone is going to be getting gattered just as soon as I build a farm on here, basically, to harvest the grapes. Okay, so Budapest right next to us is another city-state, so it should be quite easy to establish close relations with this fairly soon. Okay, so the wheel is fairly useful, so I'm going to go for archery next. That will also allow me to, funnily enough, build an archer. And archers are very useful in the early game, especially for getting rid of barbarians. So as you can see there, the game kind of highlights what you can do next, so it makes you aware of the fact that you need to move all your troops before the end of the turn. You can opt to tell the troop to go to sleep, quote unquote, which basically means ignore them each turn. But if you don't tell the game that you want the troop to be in the sleep state, then it will highlight them and tell you to move them for the before the end of the round, so you don't waste any of their turns. Okay, so we found yet another city-state. Okay. So I can make another social policy here. I can't adopt a new one, I don't think. This can be unlocked. Oh, okay, I can get to. Okay, sorry, welcome back. There was someone at the door just then as my next door neighbour. She was just sorting out a parking pass for me, as I just bought a new car. And I live in a block of flats. We've got underground parking here. She was just telling me that I do actually need a pass to park here. So she was just sorting that out for me. Okay, so where were we? We were just picking a social policy. Okay, so I might just go for adopting piety as well, piety. And I'll build both of those up. Okay, so I think I'm going to end the video in a moment. I've just checked out how much space these videos take up, and it's actually pretty bloody huge. So I'm going to finish the video up in a moment, get it all pieced together, see how the upload handles. So yeah, this is basically the start of a game of Civilization. I hope you've enjoyed it. This was mainly just sort of just to do a soft-spoken video with a subject to talk about at the same time. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys, and have a good evening / afternoon / morning, whatever time of day it may happen to be for you.